a complete waste of resources bordering on megalomania. And I wonder how the president doesn't feel awkward about this. This government, I can say boldly, is suffering from some form of megalomania.
And this naming system, this naming of monuments after leaders, we should be careful. I hope Wike will not wake up one day and say he has named Aso Villa after President Tinubu.
Nobody that loves this country will criticize that international conference center. There was one television, one media, I don't normally watch them. But somehow, by spiritual directive, I had to turn on. And I saw somebody, I don't know his name. Normally, I don't like to know people's name who don't have anything to offer. I said, oh, that they did not name the International Conference Center to somebody who built it. Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport was not built by Nnamdi Azikiwe. Moshood Abiola International Stadium was not built by Moshood Abiola. If you did not do well to defend your boss when you had opportunity, it's not our fault. You were there. They were hitting your boss left, right, and center. You couldn't defend your boss. I am here. I will defend my boss. And I have the capacity to defend my boss. If you want to die, I have a lot of land.
Then they fear you, OJ. Then they fear you, OJ. Then they fear you, OJ. I guess so wicked, then they fear you, oh. Come on, body, oh.
I have land to give you where they will bury you. I'm not afraid of that. After our population is too high. So if you want to die, you die. Because you choose to die. Why would you not commend somebody who has done well? You are not happy that they name you after Mr. President. Go and kill yourself. I have done it. And I have no regrets at all. You say, oh, they gave to Senate President. He said, if I don't give to a Senate President, it is you that in television telling lies every day that we will give to. A man who has been giving us support, if I give to Speaker, it's problem. When it is their own turn, don't give. This is my own turn. And the FCT administration has chosen what to do. You cannot direct me.
So, Minister Wike there, doubling down on why he renamed the International Conference Center after President Tinubu. And what a weak defense it was. But for the avoidance of doubt, the man he was trying to describe in that video is senior journalist Reuben Abati. Now, for context, this was what the senior journalist said about the renaming of the building after President Tinubu.
Well, I've not seen a full picture of the place, but for the president to have been so impressed to praise his minister, I think it's something commendable. And we'll join him in saying, well, for responding swiftly, Nyesom Wike did well. However, there is something we teach in critical theory. There's a subject in literature called critical theory. This subject is about temporocentrism. Temporocentrism means the tendency to think that your time and place is the best in history. In other words, to simplify it for ordinary people, it's called present-mindedness. There is, I think, a certain error of temporocentrism in the renaming of that International Conference Center after President Bola Tinubu. Nyesom Wike, the minister, says the reason they've done that is to appreciate the leadership of the president, and because he was the one that gave directives for renovating the building. Okay, how about the people that built that International Conference Center? That International Conference Center was inaugurated, was commissioned in 1991, when General Ibrahim Babangida, president, as he called himself, was president of Nigeria. So if we're not suffering from present-mindedness, I think that the honor should have been given to the president who delivered originally on it, not the man whose administration renovated it. In fact, the minister of the FCT didn't stop there. Certain sections of the building were named after the Senate president, the Speaker of the House of Reps, the Chief Justice of Nigeria. It is temporocentrism to the extent that if another administration comes tomorrow and that administration also decides to renovate the building, they might as well also go ahead and decide to change the name of the building. I think that, look, when we name monuments, we should be sensitive to history. Because I imagine General Babangida, knowing that the building that he supervised originally has been named after another person, may not feel very comfortable with it. And this naming system, this naming of monuments after leaders, we should be careful. I hope Wike will not wake up one day and say he has named Aso Villa after President Tinubu, after renovating some sections of the villa, because I'm sure some sections of the villa will also be in need of renovation.
I agree with everything that he said there, save for the fact that he was suggesting that the building should have been named after former President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida IBB. For me, I think the name of the center should have remained unchanged. Because as they say, if you ain't broken, then don't fix it. But having said that, I think Dr. Abati was absolutely spot on. And isn't it interesting that IBB, the military president at the time, didn't name the place after himself, even though as military head of state, he could have. But it is the so-called Democrats that are now doing this shameless refurbishing and renaming exercise. By the way, why does Minister Wike find it very difficult to control his public emotions and rhetorics? I mean, how can a minister say those unguarded words only and simply because he doesn't agree with Dr. Abati? Honestly, I'm ashamed. And the idea that both MKO and Zik didn't build the monuments that were named after them is laughable. Because that's besides the point. And here is what some of us are saying. There is something morally wrong about naming or renaming any public property or monument after a sitting president or even a governor. There is just something not right about it. And anyone who has a modicum of value and decency should feel awkward about it. Under normal circumstances, it should be future administrations who would look at the good works of a particular government and decide whether they should be rewarded with things like naming and renaming. But it doesn't look like Minister Wike and President Tinubu gets it. And since they don't seem to get it, maybe the National Assembly should pass a law that would prevent politicians from naming federal or state property and monuments after a sitting president or governor. And of course, that would be a future National Assembly, definitely not this current one.
Saying things are getting better for Nigeria. Things are getting better. For Asiwaju is on the throne. Things are getting better. Things are getting better. Things are getting better.
And if Minister Wike thought Dr. Abati was playing politics, was veteran journalist Dimi Jisu also playing politics here?
President of the country went to commission a renovated multi-billion naira building. Let's take these things one by one. This building had been built, I think, in the days of Babangida, so it was just a renovation. And would you believe that for the past about 2 to 3 weeks, most of the front pages of the papers at a very high cost every single day have had some advertisement announcing flag off. What's the other word that they use? Flag off.
Commissioning.
A complete waste of resources, bordering on megalomania. A complete waste of resources, bordering on megalomania. And I wonder how the president doesn't feel awkward about this. Then you have a place that is built, an institution. It already has a name. The man who built it didn't name it after himself, and subsequent governments had kept it. All the current minister did, in all honesty, was to renovate. What is the whole set? Is there something wrong with us, with our thinking? This government, I can say boldly, is suffering from some form of megalomania. Every single thing is celebrated, flag off, renovation. In my view, it even defies decency. The president shouldn't have succumbed to this. The president shouldn't have succumbed to this, and he should have put a phone call through to his former chief of staff, who, when he was in office, to the best of my knowledge, didn't allow anything named after him. Because when you allow these things, what exactly do you think is the message you are sending? Nothing. In case you don't know, you're sending a message of megalomania. I was close to a governor in the Southwest, you know, and I know what happened when he was governor. How many of those things are in existence now with his name? How many? I was there one day. This is not them. Say I was there one day when they said, Excellency, we've named this market after his name. It's name, you know. He was happy. And I looked at him and I said, what has happened to my friend? These are the things that sycophants do when you are in power. If you don't control yourself, they will turn you into a megalomaniac. These things, let me tell the president, mostly would count against him. It will count. You don't name things after yourself. You don't let it happen when you are the man in charge. And it's not as if this is no proof that all people who name all these things after you, it's no proof that they love you. It just, if you are wise enough, you know it's a curry favoring exercise, just to curry your favor.
The truth is, most people will still carry on referring to this building as the International Conference Center. Now, did you know that since President Tinubu took office as president, there has been at least 7 different buildings and monuments named after him? But there is one interesting thing that I found out. So in the course of conducting my research for this story, I found out that no public building, no monument could be named after a sitting president without the consent and approval of that sitting president. So the question is, why does the president feel at home with this kind of arrangement? Why couldn't he say no? I mean, why can't he be like his own political godson who felt awkward about something similar in the past?
I think that us governors must become the champions of the values that can become the foundation of the Nigerian dream. How can we really feel comfortable with the level of awards, the levels of chieftaincy titles, which are supposed to be building blocks of acknowledging outstanding leadership? But can we reconcile the level of awards with the level of our national development? If we cannot, I think that the first thing to do is to resolve here and now that we will stop taking those awards and that we will stop taking those chieftaincy titles.
I mean, why can't President Tinubu do something similar? I mean, why was it difficult for the president to reject that kind of offer from Minister Wike? Why can't President Tinubu set a tone and principle like this?
By the way, we have it on record that he didn't take that the jumbo pension for governors.
No, I didn't.
You never did.
I didn't.
I think what you get now is just about 500,000 or so.
Yeah, thereabouts. And you see, every time I think that we should focus the conversation on more important issues than
sir. It is vital.
Well,
I would be shocked if I didn't ask you that question.
I see the importance about how former public officers are recompensed, if you like.
Yes.
But understand this. One perspective to look at this is that in many institutions across the world, once you serve for 10 years, you become pensionable.
Yes.
I served Lagos State for 12 and a half years. So in that sense, we can look at things. But in the other sense of, we are taking an undue share of what is the state, I am not a beneficiary
of that. And it's quite, you see, you probably would dismiss it. But to those of us on the outside government, it is significant that somebody has an opportunity to benefit from such a largesse and turned it down on point of principle. These are the ideals we want to instill in our younger ones. And I'm glad you made that example. You know, because it's almost become uncommon, like Akpabio would say. It's almost become an uncommon act, you know. And so that's why I emphasized on that.
Unfortunately, Mr. Fashola appears to be one of the very few public servants who knew exactly what it means to be in public office.
I'm trying to say.
And if you doubt me, you try and see if you would find any Nigerian politician saying something similar. Perhaps Malam Nasir El-Rufai is the only other individual that is capable of saying and doing things like that. So it's okay to blame Minister Wike for offering to name the place after President Tinubu, but the president could have said, no, thank you, if he wanted to. Now, let me walk you through the number of times public buildings and monuments have been named or renamed after President Tinubu. And please note, this list is not exhaustive. Watch.
It is in this regard, and for many other patriotic persuasions, that the FCC administration hereby humbly resolve that this very important road be named Bola Tinubu Way. Your Excellency, Mr. President.
President Bola Tinubu has inaugurated the National Assembly Library and Resource Center named after him.
After the remarks, Your Excellency will be required to commission the Bola Tinubu Barracks.
It is my singular honor to commission the Bola Tinubu project. Innovation Center, we look forward to feeling its great impact and economic benefit and national security rewards. Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure for me to stand before you today to commission the Bola Tinubu Technology Innovation Complex at the Nigeria Immigration Service headquarters. Welfare of men and women in uniform and
And perhaps the most embarrassing or the most ridiculous happened in Niger State, when an airport that had already been renamed the previous year after one of Nigeria's brightest scholars was again renamed after President Tinubu.
The president proceeds to commission the new domestic terminal of the airport, which has now been named after.
And when the governor of the state was asked to justify his action, this was what he said.
Quickly talk to us about the concept behind renaming the Mina Airport. It's happened less than a year after it was recently renamed alongside other 14 airports in the country.
Yes, what we tried to do, we looked at putting square pegs in square holes. Dr. Abubakar Imam is a scholar, and the Federal Polytechnic we have in Zungeru has just been State Polytechnic Zungeru, no name. So we have renamed Niger State Polytechnic after Dr. Abubakar Imam of Kagara, which is more important, which will keep his values together. And as Bola Tinubu, being a father of the nation, being a very astute politician who has paid his price, needs to be celebrated. And the only way we can celebrate him first, because there are other ways we celebrate him more and more, in the future. But for now, let us have something that is iconic. He has been so magnanimous to us, and he gave us the first export processing, special agro-processing free zone airport in Nigeria. This is gracious. How do you even pay this person? So I sat down with my stakeholders and we thought it was just wise for us to do that immediately. We got his consent and his approval, and there we are.
Honestly, I feel ashamed that President Tinubu doesn't seem to say anything wrong in all of this. I mean, look at him here. And if it is true that he doesn't seem to see anything wrong in all of this, your guess is as good as mine. How many buildings and monuments would have been named or renamed after him when he's out of office, especially if he manages to clinch a second term in office?